night where the Orioles walked 10 Astros and you stranded too many runners in scoring position. It was pathetic. There was a valiant effort at the end. It was the Astros scored some runs, but they still fall short 9-7. It's frustrating. These type of games are frustrating, especially when you give up 5 runs in the 9th inning. What is that? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Astros podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, we have one of my friends from a former life, Albie Shore. Where can you find you at?
Find me at Mr._Albie Shore on Twitter. Also, my podcast, Tortillas and Takes podcast as well.
You're making me hungry. I know it's 11:35. It's a little too late to eat, but it seems like the Astros had a lot on the plate tonight, and they had 10 walks. They got on a lot of runners on base, but they just couldn't get it done. They're 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. At one point, they were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. It was one of those games that the Astros offense is really good, and you can't get too frustrated with these games. But it seems like ever since that 12-3 game where the Astros beat the Detroit Tigers, the offense has just been kind of stagnant. I know they scored 7 runs today. I know the offense kind of came around a little bit late, but it was just kind of frustrating. And it makes you wonder what the Astros have in the farm system. And if you want to know about that, why don't you listen to Aaron Layton. He is the Locked On MLB prospect host, and it's the only daily prospect driven podcast out there. And if you want to know about the stars of tomorrow, follow the Locked On MLB prospect. And it's on Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. And you can go and listen. I know that we have Sergio listening. You can go and chat. You can participate. You can ask us some questions about this game. I know we're going to talk about Brandon Bielak. I know Albie has some strong feelings about Brandon Bielak and everything. And so just participate, subscribe, and listen to us to Spotify, Odyssey, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just listen to Locked On Astros podcast, your team every day. So what is your level of worriedness about the Astros offense right now?
I would say I don't really have a worry right now with this offense. I have a worry if we were going to the playoffs and playing the Orioles or the Tigers, I would be worried. But outside of that, this is still the best offense in the American League. This is still the best team in the American League. Make no bones about it. They can have some hiccups against the Tigers. Now, it's rather unacceptable, but when you have a day where you have someone like your best hitter or the best hitter in the league and Michael Brantley go 1 for 6, where you have Altuve get a couple walks, but basically go 0 for on the day. Alvarez went 0 for. You're not going to get a whole lot done. And towards the end, we'll talk about the Carlos Correa thing and see if we get any updates on that. But this was just one of those games where you had a chance to blow open this game. They walked 9, 10 batters. You should have scored 7 or 8 of those runs. And when you don't hit with guys on base, you don't win ball games, even when you play the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about this offense. I get it that this is a disappointing loss, and we also had a couple disappointing losses in the Tiger series, and you're a little. But I mean, this offense has been flying off the rails, right, in a good way for the past month or two. So, yeah, I think we're getting a little too infatuated with how great the offense can be, and a couple letdowns, and you're like, oh well, we're going to hell in a handbasket. But I'm not. I mean, they still scored even with all the as bad as some. You could watch this game and think that they left all these people on base and runners in scoring position. Still scored 7 runs,
right.
And if a certain somebody doesn't give up 5 runs, Astros win, right? So like it's hard for me to look at a 9-7 game and say, oh man, the offense was terrible. Like that's not the problem here.
Yeah, so the time of the game was 4 hours and 19 minutes. This was the second longest game in 9-inning game in Astros history, according to Brian McTaggart. That is that's crazy. I mean, it just seemed like in the 5th inning, it was already 9:30 or something. So this was a long game. This was a game that involved a lot of pitchers, mostly on the Orioles side. I think they went through, was it 7? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they went through 7 pitchers. The Astros went through 5 pitchers. But the pitcher you want to focus on is Brandon Bielak, because Albie, you were actually in Baltimore to watch them play when they played last week, and you were at the almost no-hitter. So talk to us a little bit about that experience before we get back to tonight's game.
Well, so no, the game in Baltimore, it was fun. It was a great game. Astros blew it wide open pretty early on. The Astros won the game pretty early. But what was great about that game, like you kind of led into, was that potential no-hitter. And it's funny because the problem is in that game, and for anyone who didn't watch it, it started off with a rain delay. And then once the game started, like I said, the Astros were able to score. They ended up winning the game 10-2. Jake Odorizzi came back from injury, was pitching well. I mean, I know he was on an innings restriction. I still wanted him to go just because you're pitching. I get it. He's hurt, but I wanted him to continue just because you're pitching a no-hitter. But it was definitely the thing that you don't talk about while it's going on. Everybody was kind of mums the word during the game. Javier came in, also was pitched well, also preserved the no-hitter, but then a 45-minute rain delay happens again in the 7th inning. And there's really, to me, no doubt, if not for the no-hitter, they probably just end the game there, to be honest. I think it was kind of a downpour in the 7th inning, or in the 8th inning, actually, at this point. 7 innings already had been finished. I think they would have ended it, but there was a potential no-hitter. What ended up happening is because of the 45-minute rain delay, Javier gets taken out, and good old Bielak comes in, gives up a 2-run bomb, bottom of the 8th, on his 3rd batter. It was half of the remaining 1,000 people decided to leave at that moment. It was and sure enough, he wasn't done. The Orioles, as he came back again today and really blew it wide open.
So would you call him before the show?
Oh, I called him. He's white flag Bielak. That's what. Honestly, I truly believe at the time Dusty was like, "Oh, this game's over. Come on, hey,
Bielak, get in there."
Get in there.
Bielak, yeah. Hey, Bielak takes him out, and the Orioles in the dugout are like, "Yo, look who's up there! Look who's up there! That guy right there, the guy that blew the no-hitter. We still got this."
See, no, Bielak is whenever Dusty calls up Bielak, that's when CC and Jose are calling their wives, like, "Hey, I'm about to be home pretty soon." The boss said first time to get ready to get out of here.
That's funny. Yeah. Fire up the grill. We're gonna get some grub at home.
Yeah,
but I actually had Connor Newcomb on from Locked On Orioles during that game, and we just jumped on because we didn't know, we weren't convinced that the game was going to be completed, and they ended up completing the game, and that was our discussion. Was the only reason why they completed it was because that no hitter was going on, and
yeah, that was the only reason too. I mean, because MLB doesn't recognize no hitters if it's not a full 9 innings. And that was truly the game was at. It was at the time. Was it? I think it was 10-0 in the 8th inning, and there was absolutely zero reason to continue. The game was over. It was just for that.
Well, I was surprised that Bielak went back out there. I was surprised with the 4-4 game. Stanek actually has been pitching really well lately.
Well,
why you wouldn't
I believe
have?
He was unavailable. I think Presley.
Was he unavailable?
There's 3 pitchers who were unavailable.
Oh, okay.
Presley and Stanek and somebody else was unavailable today. So we had So we had the other guys. Well,
Abraham Toro could have pitched. I mean. anybody. I'm sorry at this
So
point.
it just seemed like we didn't have the right parts for the job today. So it's like we needed to go to rockauto.com to get the right parts.
Actually, that's great, but we're going to be talking about Wild Alaskan because we need to get our seafood. Yes, Mondays is Wild Alaskan.
This is Tuesdays, but okay.
Oh, we're Tuesday. Oh, my bad. We are already into Tuesday, and that is amazing. This rain has thrown me off. So rockauto.com, just like if you are broken when you're going into a lead in from a commercial and you got that wheel missing, you got that tail lamp out, you got the windshield wiper you need to replace, or if you need carpet in your car and you got one of those mystery vans like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy's got, then you need to go to rockauto.com. Why? Because they will help you save 30, 50, sometimes 100% on all auto parts, no matter what make, no matter what model. And it's so convenient because their website is easily navigable and they have all makes and all models. And you don't have to go to this website and be treated differently. Like when you go into a store, if you're a professional mechanic, they'll give you a break. If you're average Joe like you and I, they won't give you a break. They'll jack up the price. And so they don't do that at Rock Auto. They treat everybody the same. They've been family owned. They've been around for 20 years. And it is just the absolute easiest place to get whatever you need. Brake pads. I mean, anything. I was looking at my brake pads and rotors for my Nissan Titan, and it's extremely cheap. I'm going to do that instead of going and having someone replace my brakes for me. I can do it cheaper. Maybe not as quick, maybe 3 times as long, but I will save a whole lot of money and be able to put a lot more bread on the table. So go to rockauto.com, and when you check out, go to the how did you hear about us box and write Locked On to let them know that we sent you from Locked On Astros. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com.
All right, so Sergio wants to know when Baez will come back. We don't really know when Baez will come back, but we did get some updates from Dusty Baker. Noli Paredes is scheduled to throw 1 inning in Sugarland today, or no, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. You got me thrown off too. And Joe Smith threw a bullpen today, and he said that he's been working on some of his mechanics, something that he can't really do while he's trying to go out there and perform. So this is something that he's doing before he goes to on his rehab assignment. And the Astros will now decide if he's ready for a rehab assignment. And Pedro Baez threw a bullpen today, and they'll know his next step soon. So that's a big step. This is one of James Click's big off-season signings. So if he's able to come back at some point this year, that would be great. But Andre Scrub was called up. We did see him in today's game. I know we saw him as part of the doubleheader. And Taylor Jones was shipped down. I know a lot of people said, why didn't they just send down Garcia? Well, Garcia has a lot more position flexibility. He can play second base. He can play shortstop. He can play third base. He can play first base. He can play in outfield. He's basically a mini Marwin Gonzalez. So he can kind of play everywhere, while Taylor Jones is basically a first baseman and an outfielder. So that's why you have Garcia on the team versus Taylor Jones. So I think the Astros realized that, especially with what we saw with Odorizzi only going 5 innings. Today, we saw Zack Greinke only go 5 innings. And so this is becoming after the Astros starting pitching kind of carry the Astros for a little bit, it's getting kind of worrisome that they're only going 5 innings. And so I talked about this on the solo podcast yesterday. I want to get y'all's opinion. Albie, I'll start with you. What do you think about Dusty Baker not giving Odorizzi a long leash?
Well, it's a 162 game season. I mean, that's really the brunt of it. It's you in long seasons like this. The last thing we want to do is wear out our starting pitchers, especially when you have an older guy like Greinke or an injury-prone pitcher like Odorizzi, right? And so I actually don't really have a problem with it. I think the biggest problem, the reason why Astro fans have a problem with it, is because we know that really the only weakness on this team is the bullpen. And so with that being a weakness, you have a situation like today where if the bullpen doesn't give up as many runs they give up, that's really the difference between a win and a loss. But that's something that the worst thing Dusty can do is tire out our starting pitchers now when he's going to need them in October, right? Like now is not. I think we're kind of losing sight of what the end goal is. It's not necessarily to be the difference between 101 or 95 wins. The difference is really making sure that we have a good enough team to make a World Series run in October. And so I have no problem with. I had a problem with the Odorizzi one just because he had a no-hitter going, right? But like Greinke today, I mean, I thought he pulled him at the right time. It's up to the bullpen to actually come through. And that's if Bielak gives up 5 runs, I'm not mad at Dusty for putting Bielak in. Bielak got to make sure that he's pitching well. He has his best stuff out there.
All right, Brett. Hey, I want to break this out real quick. You ready?
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts by Dusty.
All right, so here's a thought after the game by Dusty. He said, "Tonight's night been a tough couple of days." So I don't know if he meant that tonight was a tough because it was such a long game.
It was, I was about to say. No, he meant what he said.
He's like Dusty out.
So, Brett, go ahead.
No, I just what was the question again? Sorry.
I was talking about them pulling the pitcher.
Okay.
Too early.
Yeah, I think Odorizzi, I do think that he needs a little bit of a longer leash, just because he's got to be stretched out, and when you know that this bullpen is not performing, it's very helter skelter. I mean, it's very hot and cold. It's either doing great things or it's abysmal. We had that 3 or 4 week stretch where we would literally have a 7-run lead and like lose it. And then like these last few weeks when we've gone on this tear where we've been the quote unquote hottest team in baseball, the bullpen has done their job. But again, you've got guys, you've got Paredes who's coming back, and some of these guys like Bielak, a lot of these guys performed pretty well last year. But remember, they did it without crowds. They did it in a shortened season. They didn't have 162 games. It was not a typical year. And so there are some answers, I think, that are on their way that are coming back. And you hope that Andre Scrub can find his magic on that curveball. Someone had posed in the chat here, should Peter Solomon get called up for a while? Peter Solomon, I think, is a great candidate to come up. He's actually pitched really well in his last couple innings for Sugar Land and has done a great job. Ryan Hartman has done a great job. I think he's more of a long shot than Solomon is. But if you're worried about innings and these guys coming in, I mean, this 20-game stretch is a torrid stretch. What are we like? We have like 3 or 4 more games, right, until we end the 20-game stretch. Was this game 16 or 17?
Yeah, we don't have a day off until Monday.
Okay.
Wait, sorry.
Until July 5th. So we still have the Baltimore series and we got the 4-game series in Cleveland.
Okay, so we've got like 7 more days of this, and 6 more days of this, and so that in pushing that game up, having the doubleheader, even though it was 2 7-inning games, and then a game after that, and then flying back. I mean, that is a lot to ask on this team, especially when your bullpen is so up and down. Again, you had a guy that came out on the mound that had a +7 ERA in the Baltimore Orioles, and I literally told my wife before the game, I was like, this is a game. These are the 2 games where the Astros should score 10 runs or more. Both the pitchers average almost 8 runs that they give up per 9 innings. And she's like, oh, wow, that's a lot. And then early, she's like, they're not doing too good. I said, yeah, they tend to play down to the competition. And it's really odd how it happens because this team grinds. And I don't know, like watching Altuve walk away from some of those at bats, watching Brantley pop up, just something's just not there when they play these teams. I mean, they had that one game against Baltimore where they scored all the runs, but outside of that, the runs have been kind of hard to come by, especially in that 3-2 win against Detroit. Or 3-2 win against Baltimore. Then they had a win in Detroit, but they didn't score many runs. So something happens when we play these bad teams. But don't forget, we still have the best record, I believe, in MLB against teams over 500.
Yeah, you did say something that was interesting, Brett, as far as the bullpen being front runners, right? So you're right. The other day they shut out Baltimore because we scored 13 runs. The game I was talking about with the rain delays, it was we win that game 10-2, and with the exception of the 2-run home run given up by Bielak, they bullpen pitched great. So it is interesting. I mean, against the White Sox, 10-2, 7-3. Like you are right in the fact that when the pressure's off, and this kind of goes to what you were talking about also with last year, where the pressure was off. No one was in the stands, shortened season. You're not even supposed to be that good anyway. Pressure's off. But when the game is close and the pressure's on a little bit, it does. I do agree with you. It does seem like things get tightened. And I always say that baseball is the greatest drama in sports. And that's one of the things that, especially for relievers, it's so easy to break, when you're a reliever.
What the biggest drama in sports is bad fish. So I think that maybe if you get the wrong fish, it just makes everything bad. So what about bad Alaskan? No, sorry.
Oh,
wow. You better edit that out of the audio. Wild Alaskan.
Wild Alaskan.
I didn't know what kind of ad we were going to be reading here, Eric. Bad Alaskan. Tell me about that. I want to know. Wild Alaskan.
Those transitions, A1 though. Oh, hey, wait, you got a left field. Oh man, that was great.
He's like, no, you don't want bad seafood. Anyways. Okay,
Eric was so impressed by himself with that transition that he just completely couldn't bring it home. He left the runners in scoring position.
Oh man, he popped out. Good job, Brantley. So here's the deal. We all know that we should be eating more fish to get our omega-3s and protein, but the seafood counter can be intimidating. Which fish tastes the best? What type of cut? Can you really be sure of the quality? Like, do you know if it came from Chocolate Bayou or if it came from Galveston Bay? Well, Wild Alaskan Company takes the guesswork out of the buying wild-caught seafood. You're used to having a lot of choices when it comes to what you eat, but it matters where your food comes from. Am I not right? You get your nutrition from nature. The Wild Alaskan Company sources wild-caught seafood from Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. Do you love to order fish when you go out to eat, but never make it for yourself at home? Cooking restaurant quality dishes at home starts with high quality seafood and simple techniques from Wild Alaskan Seafood. Wild Alaskan Company delivers high quality, sustainably sourced, wild caught seafood right to your door. Choose from salmon, whitefish, or a combination. And every month there are different specials to explore. Each shipment contains premium wild caught, individually wrapped portions of delicious seafood that's ready to prepare and easy to cook. Wild Alaskan Company seafood is how nature intended it to be. Always wild, never farmed or modified, and it contains no antibiotics. Just like the Astros contain no hits against the Baltimore Orioles pitching. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership anytime, and they offer 100% satisfaction guarantee to your money back. Get your nutrition from nature, the Wild Alaskan Company. And right now, this is what I want you to realize is you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/MLB. That's wildalaskancompany.com/MLB for $15 off your first box. wildalaskan.com/MLB. Make sure to use the URL and let them know that we sent you.
Do you ever stay up at night and wonder who's going to have more home runs, Miles Straw or Jose Altuve? Well, I do. And I bet betonline.ag would have the answer.
That does sound like something you would wonder about. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. And whether you're worried about that or whether you want to bet whether UT and A&M will ever fire up the rivalry again, then you need to go to BetOnline. Baseball season is in full swing and you can track all the action there. They have all the latest news and odds for all your sporting needs. MLB, NBA, NHL, UFC, MMA. I know that, Conor McGregor is going to fight again for a third time. Hopefully he looks like the old Conor McGregor. So go bet on that. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. This is your chance to get in the game as teams prep for their runs for the playoffs. You can bet whether or not the Houston Texans will win more than 5 games this year, which they probably won't, but go bet anyways. Head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use a promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Alrighty, so tomorrow there will be some political figures at Minute Park. It's going to be the second vaccination at the plate, or whatever they call it.
Vaccinate at the plate.
Yes, and First Lady Jill Biden and Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff will be at Minute Park, and they're going to be on the broadcast. And this is going to be so the Secret Service, I'm assuming, is going to be there. So if you see people with black glasses and suits, you might want to stay away from them. Because
it's not Eric Heisman and H-Town Wheelhouse rolling up to the stadium.
Yeah. So if
because
those
we're
of y'all
verified fools.
So if you don't have tickets for tomorrow's game and you have not been vaccinated, you can go up there and get free tickets if you need to get vaccinated. But if you've already been vaccinated, don't go up there and get vaccinated just for free tickets.
No, I just want to bring my vaccination card. Just get like a second vaccination and grow like a third eye or something.
There's a TikTok of this guy he got like the Moderna or whatever, and they were like, all right, come back in 2 weeks to get the other one. He's like, oh, I don't need it. I actually got all 5 of them. And they're like, well, you don't need all 5. I'm like, now I have the power of all 5 vaccines. And he started like using his vaccination powers to like cause havoc and move people from side to side. And then he was like, talk to your provider if the vaccine is right for you. As he started, being an X-Men around it. It was hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Bregman was out. I think he was running bases, or not running bases, but just running on the grass a little bit. And he said that he was pretty crushed at first, but he's really optimistic about how he's progressing. And there's no timetable, but he admitted that it's probably not going to be before the All-Star break. So for somebody like Alex Bregman, we don't want him rushing this. And so he said, we'll see how we react from running on the grass. I'll know more later tonight, see how the healing's going and get a look at it again on the ultrasound, make sure that the healing's going as planned, but things are going really, 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 really well.
Yeah, so, what he said about that was he said what he does like about the not having a timetable is he doesn't have a timetable because of how well it's going. And so he said at the same time, like you had said, and that's where he finished off, he doesn't want to rush things. And so he sounded pretty optimistic, but I think the reason why the quad got injured is because he was trying to make sure the hamstring wasn't getting pulled. And whenever you try to baby other muscles, other things are gonna, that's why pitchers get injured. That's why, a pitcher has like a sore shoulder or something, or a sore elbow, and they try to make adjustments. Something else gets hurt in the process.
Well, also, Toro's playing well at third base, so both defensively and offensively. So that helps when you don't feel the need to rush back. Before this recent home stretch, the offense was gunning. Defense still is doing pretty well, regardless. So I think that helps when you don't feel like you have to rush back. And for him, he needs to just take his time and make sure that quad thing is up. Because like I said earlier, all I care about is how the team looks. I care about how the team looks in September, right? Gearing up for the playoffs. And then of course, October.
All right. So we always got to get our Zack Greinke quote in every time he pitches. So apparently Dusty Baker said that he deserves to be all-star. So this is what Zack Greinke had to say. It'd be nice. I'd say there's at least 5 pitchers that have done better than me. Presley's the main one, I feel, that's taken a step above all the other guys. He's just been locked down and done his job really good.
Yeah, no graphic for Greinke?
No.
We need to Greinke great. I don't know Greinke great quotes. I don't know what you would say for that.
Greinke great takes.
No, yeah. And so, hey, Larry the GM brings up something about Garcia. I want to start a hashtag campaign that says start Toro until Bregman returns.
Yeah.
Like, I think Toro, I don't know why. And I don't want to hear about rest for Toro. He's young. You don't need to rest Toro. Cal Ripken Jr., have you heard of the guy? The guy played 8 million games and he played in like 20 different centuries. He never rested. Come on, guys.
Toro's also not the starting third baseman. So who cares if he does 30, 40 games in a row before he comes back? Like, it's not.
But that's what I'm saying. Because I think Toro could have made that throw from third whenever Robel Garcia threw that ball over to Yuli. I know Bregman would have made it, but Toro, man, his bat is so hot. I think his defense is better. You've got to have him in there. I would have liked to see him in there whenever Garcia was up to bat. And I would have liked to see Toro do some damage with that at bat. We might be talking about a different outcome of the game.
Am I the only one that thinks that Zack Greinke does not deserve to be an all-star? Or I don't think that he's had that grading.
You're not the only one. I think Zack Greinke's having a decent year. I don't have a problem. I think he should have been a finalist. I don't think he was a finalist, but I think he should have been a finalist. but an actual all-star, I didn't vote for him, to be honest with you.
I mean, he has
To be
8
really honest.
wins, but
well, I mean, he is 8-2. He does have a whip of 1.15.
74 strikeouts. I know, but he's had a couple games where he hasn't lasted 4 innings. I know Clayton Kershaw has that too. I know every pitcher has those games.
Clayton Kershaw also doesn't deserve to be an all-star.
And Garrett Cole's given up 6 home runs in his last 9 like 9 outings or no, 6 of his last 9 home runs have been after the spider tack check. So Garrett Cole's become kind of pedestrian with all these checks. So, I don't know. I mean, that's I think an opinion thing. It's like, what have you done for me lately? He probably looks at Zach being 8-2, going, he's an elder statesman. He deserves to be an all-star. He may not get any more all-star chances. But Dusty
could be his last.
Do it now.
I was like, yeah, this really could be his last all-star if he makes it.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows, but, look at this question.
Go ahead.
No, look at this question right here. Does Greinke deserve to start a postseason game?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think he deserves to start a postseason game. I don't think he's that bad.
I don't think you go from should he be an all-star to should he even play in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. I know where you're going, Larry, but unless he just goes
until his
all
arm falls off.
Yeah, unless he goes all Chad. No, who's the pitcher that
Wade
just fell
Miley?
apart? Wade
Miley. Yeah.
Wade Miley.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And see, I mean, dude, I did that whole season long article series when I was with Climbing Dow's Hill, the Miley Chronicles, and that was a really fun article series to write. And then when he fell off, like, it was hard at the end of the season to write stuff because I wasn't able to write. Oh, he was the only pitcher with 7 straight starts of giving up 3 runs or less, and he was doing all these things that even Max Scherzer wasn't doing. And then, at the end of the day, Greinke, Belak will not be on this playoff roster. Guys like that won't be here.
They're hoping that Baez and a whole bunch of these people who are maybe injured, Paredes gets his control issues figured out. Yeah, and then you'll have some of the people who are in the starting rotation right now as relievers. So, yeah, that's what they're hoping for.
I will say this. Dusty does do a really good job of empowering those players, right? Giving them a longer leash, not necessarily pulling them just because they make a mistake or two. And so I think that's a big reason why the pitching staff last year, which was full of at the time a bunch of no names like Valdez, like Urquidy, like Javier, gained that confidence. And I think that's one of the benefits of having a guy like Dusty. I know Astros fans like to rag on him a lot, but that's one of the reasons why. So I do think that though it's you get your problem, you have problems throughout the season, and it's a long 162 game season. That's why Dusty's one of the greatest regular season managers of all time, because he empowers these players.
Okay, so Larry brings up a good point. He says the reason why he brings it up is he would start McCullers, Valdez, Urquidy, and Garcia over Greinke. So,
I guess, I mean, when you start talking about a 7-game series, would you rather though have Greinke start and then bring in someone like a Garcia, like almost a piggyback type start? I'm just saying, but speaking of all-star pitchers, Luis Garcia better be on this all-star team.
When John Smoltz is like talking you up on MLB Network, that says something. So
that's huge.
Yeah, Larry, we're going to have to talk about that on a different show. We're running out of time here. So tomorrow's game, we have TBD still versus Jose Urquidy. I don't know if anybody's been determined. I love TBD. But he's got a great curveball. He has a breakdown slider, and it just I think that Jose Altuve has great success, and so we'll have to see what happens. So
I went to high school with TBD. Good guy.
Yeah, we actually went to different schools together.
Okay, cool. So as long as you didn't, no, I'm not gonna go there. So anyway, so that's Albie. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. So I'm glad the offense kind of scored some runs. I know that it was a little stagnant for a few days there. So at least they scored 7 runs. I wish they would have done a little bit better with some runners in scoring position today, but at least they got 2. That's a start there, right, guys? So So at least that's something. And hey, H-Town Wheelhouse was on the Locked On Today podcast. So if you want to go listen to him and Peter Bukowski and everybody else that was on the Locked On Today podcast, you're on there talking about, are the Astros out for revenge during the 2021 season? And I know a lot of people have been giving you a lot of crap.
Oh, man,
that.
I've been getting all kinds of crap. That's okay. I will take all the smoke. It's welcomed.
So get all the sports news you need in under 20 minutes with the Locked On Today podcast. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Astros on YouTube. And Albie, have you subscribed yet?
Of course.
Okay, you better be subscribing and go listen and go Astros.